Everybody, I'm Stacy with Stacy's Organizing and Decorating for Life. I'm here to help you organize your thoughts and decorate your perspectives. So today our topic is going to be about, I want to cover three things today. We're going to talk a little bit about Aristotle because I do believe that the ancient mystics had something going on and that we got a real and authentic perspective on how things are supposed to be. As I talked last week about how a lot of our ideas about relationships and love, because we are talking about love this month, how those came from the romances that we see on TV or hear in fairy tales, that many of us are hoping for that and think there is supposed to be some perfection, and we have unrealistic expectations. So with the expectations part, we're going to go into, I've been talking with my friend Jennifer D once again, and we're going to talk about expectations in our friendships, but that can also be into our intimate relationships as well, because we're also going to talk about intimate relationships. And is that a waste of time? Are we wasting our time in certain relationships? So if you like that that's going to be our topic today, then please hit the like and subscribe button below. Remember, we're going to talk about Aristotle and how the past meets the present. And we're also going to talk about the intimate relationships. Are they a waste of time? And we're also going to talk about our friendships and how those go. And Aristotle had some things to say about that too. But before we get started, I want to remind you that I am a life coach. I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, doctor of any sorts. I'm not a scientist either, but I like to talk about those things, and I study many of those things. So as being a life coach, what I deal with is addiction, codependency, and grief. And I am not a substitute for any kind of program. I'm a supplement to those programs, because sometimes it just takes that little extra to help us. As I've explained in other videos, the difference between a sponsor and a life coach. But it's just not dealing with people, which I understand people with addiction, because my mind triggers and thinks the same way. I understand people with codependence issues because I've dealt with that too. And we've all dealt with grief issues. And what I try to do is help people to be able to process the pain, to be able to live their life again. But also, what everyone, or most people want, is healing and healthy relationships. So we work with that so that we have a desire and development of spiritual and soul consciousness, that we feel that connection with everyone. And as in a time now where we're feeling so much disconnection, I've been pretty busy. So, it's about feeling comfortable in our own skin. And what I do is, I don't work with your mind like the psychologist and psychiatrist. I dig that stuff up off of your soul. We dig into the closets of your mind, though, and we get rid of those things, those thoughts that no longer serve you, that don't fit anymore. And so you can see what you had there all along. You knew it was there, you just couldn't find it. And it also makes room for more thoughts, more dreams and goals and visions. But besides that, we get to dig those dust bunnies and those cobwebs and monsters out from under the bed, those things that clog the perspectives in your head, so that you get a clear and brighter picture of what you want your life and your world to look like. It's about feeling comfortable in our own skin, remembering who we are. And so we dig up all that stuff off the soul that has left a scar. So if you or anyone you know need help in that area, please feel free to email me at stacyreinick@gmail.com, or you can find me on any of the social media sites as Stacy Renee, Stacy Renee 8 on Instagram. And feel free to message me there, message me there, and, obviously this YouTube channel. And I would look forward to connecting with you. I have a web page, but during this Mercury retrograde and my updates, my web page did not agree with those updates. So now my web page is down, and I'm getting this debug thing going on. So I don't know what that's about, and I've reached out to someone to repair that. If they don't get it done pretty soon, I'll reach out to somebody else. That's just all it is. And that's what these videos are designed to do, is to encourage you, if you're feeling alone and lonely as many people are, is to reach out and to get that help. So let's get started. So I like Aristotle, and I like many of his views on relationships and everything, and I'm studying that right now, so that's fresh in my mind. So we're going to talk about how this connects in with our current relationships. Aristotle spoke about relationships that were we're in egoism, which this means placing the self first. So some people might think in self-love that it might be more egoism, and that might be the deterrent. I know when we are indeed codependent, that is the deterrent, because some people might even describe egoism as narcissistic, placing the self first, because a lot of people in relationships, what they do, and I don't like to just label things, I like to really talk about the traits, because we are all capable of having these different traits at any time or another in our life. And so what oftentimes happens in just a self-love thing or egoism is that people are trying to create a safe place for themselves. Hence they come off as controlling. They come off as dominating and telling you what you need to do, taking your power away, because the person who has narcissistic traits will definitely take your power away, persons who are egoism. But we need to love ourselves right. So that's what Aristotle talked about, was finding that balance in between. And so then when he talked about altruism, this could come off as codependent. Having codependent traits is because an altruistic person is the opposite of the egoistic person. They mean they're focusing all of their energy and attention on another person. It's all about loving another person. What we were put here to do, I think, as human beings, is to find that balance. And so many of us find fault with ourselves and with others for not already knowing that balance. But it's supposed to be learned, I believe. That's why I come to help you organize your thoughts and decorate your perspectives, is that I myself had to learn these things to be able to have peace in my life, because really the bottom line and the goal is peace and love, for a lot of us. Now, we're coming out of 2020, and a lot of the materialistic views have changed, and we still want to be materialistic, but some of us in the spiritual realm, you don't want to be too spiritual, but you want to be in a right and divine alignment. We talk about alignment, and I talked about the chakras last week, and be in alignment in those things, because if you have too much spiritual and not enough grounding, then you're messed up. If you have too much of this altruistic love in your heart chakra, but you don't have self-love from your ego chakra, well, then you're kind of messed up too. So it's about when y'all see me make posts, I'm going to get my chakras balanced, because we all have the capacity to be in one direction or another at any given time. Now, the problem is when somebody stays over on one side and has to prove that they're right all the time, and somebody over here is feeling like they're wrong all the time. That's not in right and divine alignment, no matter whether you believe in chakras, Mercury retrograde, or any of that stuff. It's not right and divine alignment. And it's not where, you want and desire to be, whatever your path is on this earth. And a lot of people are not even, I don't think, aware of the path that they're taking. And these different moves, they want to fault themselves or they're going to fault somebody else. But it's not a fault. It's all part of a learning process that we are designed to live. So that's what Aristotle was teaching. I'm going to talk about the friendships right quick, because Jennifer D. and I were talking about that, is that Jennifer D. and I and he talked about virtue and integrity, and we consider ourselves to be people of virtue and integrity, that when we say we're going to do something, we do it. However, in talking with Jennifer on this, is that we were talking and we said, some people may have the appearance, and again, this is the label, but they may have flaky traits, what they call flaky. And that's okay. My spiritual teacher has spoke on that. Michael Meridat has spoke on that we learn that when people have these kind of traits, when they're not dependable, that we don't have to dislike them or discard them, that we just say to ourselves, okay, they're flaky. So when we make a plan with this person, we make room, maybe for if it doesn't work out, or we don't set ourselves up to be disappointed if it doesn't work out, because we know that this person has the capacity to cancel at the last moment. Now, if they have integrity, they'll cancel at the last moment or say that they can't do it after a while, and we don't know what's underneath that. So then we come to the Beatitudes, about being understanding than understood, and this is not about being a doormat, and it's not about kissing ass. It's about, when we say that, that's exactly what I'm talking about now in our friendships, is that we understand, okay, this person is this way. We don't know what's going on with this person. I know myself that when I first got in recovery, I might be able to be considered to be flaky, because I know that it took a long time to build my self-esteem. That's what I help people do, is because I had to learn how to do that myself, and it took a long time to learn to build that self-esteem. And sometimes I might want to say I'm going to show up for something and then not show up and have an excuse that I make up later, just like some people do, and that's because maybe when they said they would do it, they felt okay and thought that they could, but then as the time grew near, some people have real anxiety. This is something that people can get anxious over, and then they can decide that they're not going to do it. Maybe they're at this time afraid to be around a lot of people, which is, a valid thing right now. But maybe they're afraid of what people are going to think about them. You see, because another one of my friends made a post yesterday, about something, and I said that people really fear, it's people don't understand that when they're worried about what people think of them, that's a self-centered act, because they're thinking that it's all about them, you see, and it's really not. So I hope that makes sense, because it doesn't, maybe sound right, because I know that when I said it, but what that means is that we'll think that it's all about us, but it's not. If you're going to celebrate somebody, go and celebrate them. But if you can't, then understand that some people, if somebody can't show up, that it's just maybe anxiety, maybe they're afraid. Some people don't even know. That's why I try more so to talk about traits in these videos than I do labels, because I got called codependent a long time before I would decide that I did indeed have these codependent traits. And I'm okay with, having that codependency thing now, but it didn't help for someone just to call me codependent, because I didn't know what that was, and I didn't know what the traits were. So when we say that somebody's anxious, they may just have a low self-esteem as part of that anxiety and be afraid of what people are going to think about them. And they don't even realize that in that low self-esteem, that thinking of things is about ourselves, that it's so, this is why I love the polarities, because it's oftentimes that when we're thinking this, that it's actually about something else. So that's why in, my step work, I've said before that at the 7th step, she told me that whatever my, shortcomings were, whatever my actions were in my past, to do the opposite of those things. That was so I could persevere and have courage to know and practice a different way of doing and being. Because I watch Lisa Romano too, and I always refer people, who need a deeper dive into codependency or narcissism, because I don't really, do the labels so much as I'm trying to help you organize your thoughts and decorate your perspectives. And so I'm not trying to do this dualistic type thing to where and she's not either. She's a very good teacher, but she is in more detail about what those traits are and how they interact with each other. And I'm not trying to step on her stage, so that's her thing. I'm about thoughts and perspectives. And she does very well with that. So I just encourage you to check her out if you're more curious about these codependent traits, because I'm not going to do a whole video on codependency, because there are so many people who do great codependent and narcissistic videos. And maybe someday I will, but that's not today. I'm about thoughts and perspectives and how to get you to help you to see just one little thing at a time, to make it to the next day, to make it to the next video, to make it to this, to make it to that, because these are hard times right now. And so it's about taking that compassionate look and being understanding more so than understood. And it's not about religion. It's about just some of those truths that we learned. It's about being compassionate and not taking these things personal when people don't show up. So when we look at expectations in our friendships, what's realistic expectations and what's not realistic expectations? And then how will we deal with that? So as a sponsor of people, I oftentimes tell people the best time to call me is this time of morning. So they need to call at that time of morning. If they call, it is an expectation that they will call that time of morning. If they don't call at that time of morning, though, I don't lose my shit, and I don't think that it's all about me. It's not about whether they respect me or not, as some people may think, as though they don't respect me. No, that's more self-centered. It's just about, well, they forgot, and I don't have to make a judgment. Are they showing discipline? No, they're not. They're not showing that willingness to do what they need to do. See, because when I coach people or sponsor people, they have a role to play in that. I can't do that for them. I can't build somebody's self-esteem for them. It's not about me building their self-esteem. It's about them building their self-esteem. I'm just going to coach them along the way and help them realize what their assets and liabilities are. Like I said, cleaning those closets out and those perspectives, those thoughts and perspectives that we hold on to for so long. We get to realize, where do they come from and how are they serving me? But then they get to decide from there what they want their life to be. I'm not designing their life. They're designing their life. I'm helping them organize and decorate it. They get to do the design after they clear those thoughts and perspectives out. And that's what you get to do too, is you are in charge. So when we get to the intimate relationships, thanks Jennifer for that topic, for helping me clarify all of this in friendships, because Aristotle also says, before I go on to the next topic, Aristotle also says that we have these friendships that are the love relationships, that are people who resonate with us, and we know they got our back and they're with our soul. But we also have the friend and love relationships of people. Oh, I love to go. He uses the example golfing is what they use the example of in the writings. So I love to do this with you. I love to do that with you. But maybe they're not in an intimate level with you. And it doesn't mean that this relationship is right and that relationship is wrong. Same with when you've got your friends that got your back and you know that you call them and they're going to show up, and then you've got your friends that they're like, well, yes and no, and it's just learning to communicate differently and confidently and better. Jennifer and I have learned to do that, and it doesn't make us any better or worse, because this is the thing, is it took somebody that could do that to teach me to do that. So it's all about mutual respect. So I still respect those that I get to teach, you see, because I wouldn't have a job. I wouldn't have a purpose if I didn't have that to do. So it's about our involvement. There's the saying, don't look down on somebody unless you're helping them up. We only rise by lifting others. Those are the quotations and the things that I admire. It's not the ones that say, if you treat people the way they treat you, they're going to get pissed off. Because when I talked to my friend Joanne this morning too, and I like to talk to my friends about, what we're going to talk about today. We were talking about our friends that maybe they're going to show up, maybe they're not going to show up, that they, and you hear from them every so often. And that's fine with me, because I'm a busy person. So if, I have friends that they love that we can do that with each other because we're busy, and so it's not about talking every day and all of this. So she said that too. And the thing is that when they do call, sometimes people want to just discard them or not pay attention to them because they hadn't called them all this time. They're not obligated to call us all this time. And for me, I feel happy when I hear from somebody I haven't heard from in a long time. Sometimes these people call you and they just talk about themselves. They're more into the egoism kind of friendship. And I have a tattoo on my arm, the Desiderata, and in part of the Desiderata it says that we listen to even the dull and mundane, for they have their story to tell. So if I have time, they may have something, just a little tidbit in there, because sometimes we need that clairaudience to, maybe there's something going on in our own lives, and maybe we need to be able to listen to somebody else and they may say something that just sparks what we are needing to hear. So if we have time, we need to listen to these people too, even if we don't hear from them for so long. It's about that non-attachment thing. It's about not being codependent. It's not about relying on somebody else all the time. See, because that limits us, right? Because we get to where we rely on this person or we rely on that person. And I know me in my life, the magic, mystery, and miracles have come sometimes from people I didn't even know. And this is really exciting, as I like it from all. I just recently went to Texas and I didn't expect it, and people just kept giving me gifts, and I was like, wow, and it was just I was just overwhelmed with all the love that I received, and I did not have that expectation, you see. I didn't think I was going to come in and have all this showered on me. But it's being, I give a lot of love out, or I try to. I try to show up when I can. I'm available when I can, because I want us all to make it. So now we're going to get down to are we wasting our time in relationships? Last week I also had Kim ask me about people in midlife crisis, and I do believe there is a time in our lives where our hormones change and we develop in another way. That, females, their estrogen levels starts going, males, their testosterone levels starts dropping, and all of this is happening. But some of these characteristics that, like I said, are labeled midlife crisis and such are characteristics that I've seen some young men and women carry out about not being able to be faithful in relationships, not being able to be fully committed. As I said, that in my past I chose people that were emotionally unavailable. And what that meant was, we could call it a midlife crisis, but we would get to a certain level in this love relationship, and then they couldn't go any further in that relationship. The thing was I used to take it personal that there was something wrong with me, was why they would always sky out or just leave or abandon their relationship, break up with me. But I finally learned that it wasn't about me. It was the part that was about me, because it's about you, but it's not about you. The part that was about me, and taking my own inventory, is that why did I keep choosing to be in a relationship with somebody who's emotionally unavailable? That wasn't my first, as they would say, rodeo. So I was finding this pattern within myself. See, they're not a waste of time. We're supposed to learn from them. And I still, care about the people that I was in relationships, still love, but not love, these things, because they were catalyst for my growth. It's not that I see them as a villain or somebody who tricked me in love or anything like that, because I had really good relationships with these people, but it wasn't. Sometimes we just aren't compatible, but we choose to be in relationships with people that we're not compatible with. And why do we choose that? Because we chose this. And it's for our higher growth and involvement. We can't be empowered by not taking responsibility. Jennifer says, that's what I love about your videos, is you talk about taking responsibility, because you can't be empowered if you don't take responsibility. You see, all of us feel tricked sometimes, but when we get down to it, were we tricked because we chose to do this? We chose these people. We can choose them as the highest catalyst of our growth, which would be more empowering, or you can choose that you're a victim of this person. And how do you want to see yourself? Most people don't want to see themselves as a victim, but what they say may interpret that they're a victim. So it's about being clear about our language. This is what I try to help you with your thoughts and perspectives too, is it's oftentimes the language, the words that we use that create our environment around us, So that's why we look at our thoughts and our perspectives on these things, and understand that we have a larger, bigger role to play in this universe. Last week we talked about our relationship too with our higher power, whoever you perceive that to be. And I like that in one of the churches that I went to, and I shared that last week, the baptismal just had flowers in it. You didn't try to dunk people in it and everything else, because I was healing. I too understand how when you feel like you're being brainwashed by a church, or you're feeling brainwashed, or you feel like that there's all this dogma and stigma to this relationship with this higher power, with this God. And so in that same church, they did this prayer. Sorry, I've got a dog that is whiny. So she's talking. So when they did this prayer, they said, it was John 3:16, but he said it like this. He said, "For love so loved the world that love gave its only child." And so when we experience it, if we take the word God, which most of us interpret God is love, it's not limitation. And when you have this expansiveness from your higher power, we learn that we don't just depend on one relationship or two relationships. And it's not to say those are intimate sexual relationships. It's to say that even our intimate relationships, sometimes we can relate more with our girlfriends. I had to learn myself how to process things with my girlfriends, because a man's mind doesn't always, some men's, I'm not saying all men's, but some men's mind doesn't want to hear that long, lengthy process that we as females have when we're analyzing and going through this stuff. And it's just good for both of us, for men to have their friends and for us to have our friends, and for us to come together in unity. Some people need the kind of other bond like this, the codependent kind of bond, or looks codependent. But some people, I think, actually can be that close, maybe in relationships. But once I think we get healthy, we get to enjoy each other. And that's the thing, is that half of us don't even know what kind of relationships we would choose. And it's through going through these wasted relationships that we learn what we get to do. And they're not waste, remember, I'm just saying that because a lot of people, I myself had thought, am I wasting my time here? but we are not wasting our time. We need to look back at that with love, like I said, because that's what we were designed and put here to do. I do believe that above all else, no matter what kind of faith you follow, I think that all the faiths talk about love. So our higher power can be love, and that's our higher evolvement. So what do I need to do to love myself? Because if we're thinking thoughts like somebody only talks to me, this is in the friendships when they want something, that's not loving yourself. It truly is not. I know people who say that they only talk to me when they want something. Well, maybe that's true, but when you say that aloud, you're creating more of that, and when you're thinking that, maybe that's the time that they have when they get to talk to you. Maybe it's not that they want something. Maybe that's when they have time. So not seeing things just black and white and rigid. Because if you're rigid, you can't see the expansion. You're only going to keep constricting, possibly. But we can expand when we choose not to be so rigid in our relationships. So I hope that this video has been helpful and given you some insight, about love. And again, if you all have any other questions or if you need help yourself one-on-one, I'm always willing to give you all, as a part of a love token to you, 30 minutes of my time free without charge to help you organize your thoughts and decorate your perspectives. Can you do it all in one session? As I said earlier, no. It takes commitment to change our thoughts. We didn't collect these thoughts in one session, at one time. It was compounded of years and years and years of getting these thoughts. And I'm not saying, because the ideal is that you get help from me and you need less help, and then you go on to help other people. That's what I'm trying to create here, is that I help you with your process and then you're able to extend that help. It won't come from one session. But at these times, people are feeling so overwhelmed. Please know that I am interested in those people who are seeking and committed to finding a higher way. And I would love to chat with you for 30 minutes. Maybe it could lead to more. I have done things that, and that's the kind of blessings that I'm trying to give other people, is sometimes I've signed up for one thing and ended up with something else that turned out to be far greater. And that's what I talk to you about, is the possibility of magic, mystery, and miracles, but you have to be willing to believe in those things and to be a part of those things and to know that they show up even for you and me. I know that I used to just see people and think that it only happened for them, but it happens for everybody. And my relationships are perfect. They aren't always what I want them to be, but they're always teaching me something, because even when I get frustrated, I have to say, what am I supposed to learn from this? I'm not a victim, and neither are you. You can be empowered too. I'm not saying in the past you may have had victim situations, but we can still learn from these things, okay? All right, so I'm hoping that you all have a happy, happy Valentine's Day. I appreciate and I value your time, so I'm about to give it back to you. But I just want to thank you for being here. Some of you show up weekly with these videos, and if you're new here, please, like I asked, like and subscribe. I hope you did like this. So I look forward to connecting with you again. Remember, you can contact me at stacyreinick@gmail.com for one of those free 30-minute sessions, or if you have a question or would like me to do a video on a certain topic, how can I serve you by doing the video? Or you reaching out and me helping you with your thoughts and perspectives, okay? Because I want us all to make it, all right? So, again, I wish you much peace and love, and I look forward to connecting with you again next week.